The Burning Crusade added the first new races to the game, the Blood Elves and the Draenei. This was the first time the Alliance could be shamans and the Horde could be paladins. And in this video, we'll be talking about the history of racials for the Draenei. The Draenei have 4 racials. While each of these racials have seen some changes, unlike most other racials, they still have all of the same racials they did when they were first added to the game. First up is Gift of the Naaru. This was a little hot on a 3-minute cooldown that had a 1.5 second cast time and a 40-yard range. It wasn't the biggest heal. At level 70, it was only about 1,000 health over 15 seconds. But the thing is, it didn't cost any mana to cast. And if you were a healer using it with a whole bunch of plus healing gear on, it scaled like any other heal, making it a phenomenal heal, especially for healers as, again, required 0 mana. And mana-free abilities are very valuable for healers, for all of you non-healers out there. The next racial we'll talk about is Gemcutting. This is as simple as any racial can be. It gave the Draenei a +5 skill if they decided to take the new jewel crafting profession that came out with the Burning Crusade. Shadow Resistance is up next. The Draenei's Shadow Resistance followed the exact same set of changes as the Shadow Resistance of the Undead. So if you see my video of the history of Undead racials, you'll know that it fades as time goes on. But if you haven't seen the video, be sure to check it out after you're finished watching this one. I'll leave a link at the end. Anyways, what Shadow Resistance did was give the Draenei a +10 to their Shadow Resistance stat. Now, last but not least, we have the Draenei's Heroic Presence, or Inspiring Presence. They're both basically the same thing, so I'm only going to be showing Heroic Presence on screen. This racial alone was the reason why you wanted at least 1 Draenei per party in your raid. What it did was give all of your party members either 1% hit or 1% spell hit. Draenei warriors, hunters, and paladins had Heroic Presence, giving 1% hit to all party members within 30 yards, while mages, shamans, and priests had Inspiring Presence, which gave party members 1% spell hit if they were within 30 yards of you. As with most things early on in WoW, this ability was party-wide and not raid-wide. This meant that you wanted 1 Draenei per party to give the boost to hit, which was incredibly impactful. Wrath of the Lich King brought a few changes to the Draenei's racials. Inspiring Presence was removed and its effect was rolled into Heroic Presence, which now gave both 1% hit and spell hit. It still remained only party-wide, however. Even with these limitations, this puts Heroic Presence in the running for one of the most overpowered racials in the game's history. This meant Alliance players could just straight up plan their gear around needing 1 less hit chance, which was a pretty significant amount for some classes, like Hunters who only needed 8% chance to hit total, so that 1% was actually about 13% of their total hit chance needed. And if you read guides from this time period online, you'll see them give stat weight suggestions for Horde players, and then different ones if you know you're going to have a Draenei in your party. Shadow Resistance was changed as all other resistance racials were to give a flat 2% reduced chance to be hit by shadow spells. Gemcutting remained the same, but Gift of the Naaru had the mounted heal changed to now be increased by either your attack or spell power, whichever is higher, and made its attack bar immune to pushback. Pushback, for anyone who isn't aware, is when a caster is casting a spell, but they get hit by something and the cast is, well, pushed back. So, having a heal that now scales its spell power, costs no mana, and now is immune to pushback is still really nice. This didn't last too long, however, as with patch 3.1, it was changed to be instant cast, and you can't push back an instant cast spell. As Deathwing rose and brought about the Cataclysm, new abilities were granted to the races of Azeroth that some may deem unnatural. Heroic Presence was nerfed, so now instead of providing your Heroic Presence to others in your party, it only affected yourself. It was still a fantastic racial, just no longer bonkers like it was previously. Gemcutting was buffed by a whole 50%, so now it has a fantastic +10 jewel crafting skill. So while it was changed, it didn't really change anything and was still as incredibly minor as it always had been. Then the resistance racials were changed again to now increase your resistance stat by 1 per level, so +1 shadow resistance at level 1 and a +85 shadow resistance at max level. Then in one of the minor patches early on, Gift of the Naaru was also changed to now heal a flat 20% of the target's health over 15 seconds, rather than a scaling value. This is the first and only expansion where all of the Draenei's racials were changed, as Gemcutting has only ever been changed once since the Draenei were added to the game. Mist of Pandaria only brought 2 changes. The first was to Shadow Resistance, and that was because all the resistance racials were changed into their final form, so far, which made them reduce all damage taken from that school of magic by 1%. So for a Draenei with Shadow Resistance, that means 1% less shadow damage. Second was a Gift of the Naaru nerf to make it so it only healed the target for 20% of the caster's maximum health instead of the target's. So it no longer got huge benefits to cast it on the tank, who would always have the highest HP of the raid and are always priority heal targets. Warlords of Draenor also brought a couple of changes to the Draenei, as they've returned to one of their many homes in their 10,000-year journey from hiding from the Legion, even if it was in an alternative timeline. Firstly, Gift of the Naaru was changed to essentially heal faster. The duration of the hot was reduced from 15 seconds down to just 5 seconds, while still healing the same amount. The second change was to Heroic Presence. It was now redesigned to no longer increase hit and spell hit by 1%, but instead just give a flat amount of strength, agility, and intellect. Although whatever class you are, 2 of those 3 stats do pretty much nothing for you. This change was done because they basically removed the hit chance stat from the game, ending the reign of Draenei having one of the most powerful stat boosting racials in the game. To date, this is the last time the Draenei's racials have changed, but in Legion, the Lightforged Draenei were added to the game. With patch 7.3.5 in Legion, the Lightforged Draenei become a playable race that have 5 racials. First, they have Light's Judgement, which on a 2.5 minute cooldown lets you call down a holy energy to deal damage to enemies within 5 yards after 3 seconds. It's a little confusing because while casting it is instant, there is a delay before the damage is dealt. But according to some of the min-maxing websites like Hero Damage or Blood Mallet, this ability makes the Lightforge really good in Mythic Plus. This ability seems to be the equivalent of the normal Draenei's Gift of the Naaru, but it deals damage instead of healing. Next, they have Forge of Light, which on a 15-minute cooldown lets you summon an anvil and gives you a plus 10 to blacksmithing. Of the profession racials, this is actually one of the better ones due to the anvil summoning, so that you can actually do your smithing on the go, but still overall isn't impactful and is pure flavor. Next is Demonbane, which increases the experience gained from killing demons by 20%. This was the second ever XP increasing racial, the other being the Troll's Beast Slaying racial, which was changed from dealing an extra 5% damage to beasts in Warlords of Draenor, to instead grant an extra 20% experience from killing them. Their third racial's Light's Reckoning, which causes you to erupt when you die and deal holy damage to enemies within 8 yards, as well as healing allies in range as well. Very reminiscent of Tyrion's death ability in Heroes of the Storm. And interestingly, on the PTR, this racial was originally called Final Verdict, but likely changed to its final name, Light's Reckoning, as Final Verdict already existed as one of the Paladin's main abilities, and this could have become even more confusing as, for flavor reasons, many people would probably be making Lightforged Draenei Paladins anyway. And lastly, the Lightforged Draenei's 5th racial is a Holy Resistance, which is, with all other resistance racials, reduces holy damage taken by 1%. So while there has never been a Holy Resistance stat in the game, Lightforge got a form of Holy Protection with its ironically named racial. So far, their racials have not seen any revisions, but they are still a very new race in the grand scheme of the game, so there is time. And that's it! Since Warlords of Draenor, the original Draenei racials haven't changed. Aside from specific number scalings on Heroic Presence with the stat, level squishes, and when professions were broken up by expansions, so that the plus 10 to jewel crafting from Gemcutting was added to each expansion jewel crafting individually. The same happened with the Lightforge and their blacksmithing skill. Instead, they just added an entirely new Draenei race through the new allied race system. But who knows? With Blizzard saying we'll be going out and exploring the cosmos, maybe we'll find more Draenei out there, and their racials will get an update then. Now, if you like this video and have ideas for future ones just like it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. Also, we have playlists and all the other history videos. Go watch it.